to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Lesley Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners to episode 12 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Lesley.
If you have clutter and want to sort it out, this is the show for you. In today's episode, we're talking about the last minute Christmas preparation. A couple of weeks to go until Christmas, and Lesley and I are ready to chat about it today with you. We have our mince pies here and our mulled wine. Well, not really, we have coffee, and we want to share with you all the things that need your attention until the big day. So, Christmas countdown, it's nearly time.
You had me at mulled wine though. I'm not sure quite how our podcast would be after a load of mulled wine, but we'll see anyway. So now I'm excited.
I know, it's nearly there. It's kind of always such a massive day in the year, and like we talked about on the last podcast, we love the preparation of it as well, and we're in the middle of that. I mean, I'm doing the Christmas shows and all the Christmas productions in school, and it's such a lovely time of year. Busy, but really, really, really lovely. So
yeah, and I think the most important thing is that we do find time to do the nice things and not just run around like a crazy lunatic for the 2 weeks before Christmas doing all the preparations and don't give ourselves time to enjoy it.
I know.
And that's maybe what this podcast is all about, is just scheduling time and thinking about what you've got to do and when, and making sure it all fits into place nicely.
Yeah, it's true. We've got a whole list of things for you to think about and all the things that need doing, but definitely don't forget to enjoy this lovely time of year and enjoy, seeing the lights in the trees and all the little lights twinkling everywhere, and going to a Christmas show perhaps, and seeing all the decorated houses when you drive through the streets. That's, I think, what it's all about, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I mean, I was as I was coming down to meet you, I was in London walking through from the station last night and walking past all the beautifully decorated trees outside the shops, and it was like, oh, this is so lovely. Do you know what I mean? It really does give you that special, kind of Christmassy mood.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that.
Yep.
But then I've got to go back home to Manchester, where it's probably going to be raining. And but anyway, right. Okay, so let's talk about Christmas.
Yes. Yeah. I've got quite a to-do list still. I don't know how about you, but I'm not done yet, and that's okay. I'm fine about that. There are things that need to be done between now and Christmas, but not everything has to be done in the last minute, and not everything has to be done today or tomorrow. So we can spread it out a little bit. So what's on your list of things to do, Lesley? What's on your thing?
Well, I think this weekend is definitely going to be about decorating. Maybe a little bit. It's probably a little bit late actually, but the decorations are going to go up, and that actually is a mammoth job, isn't it, in itself?
Yeah.
Getting the boxes from where they are, bringing them up, deciding what you want to put up. And then and there's a huge clean-up afterwards, isn't there? Because every time you put a Christmas decoration up, a piece of glitter or a little bauble or something, smash it, and you've got so you've got to factor in the clean-up as well as they're putting the Christmas decorations up.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's really important is, if we're talking about decluttering, is looking at those decorations as you put them up. And if you've made a decision this year that you don't want to put a decoration up for whatever reason, then make sure this side of Christmas that they go to the charity shop so that somebody else can buy them and use them. Because the last thing that people want is for you to make those decluttering decisions in January, because they're no use to the charity shop in January. They need to go in there now. So definitely do some decluttering, because I think we're so used to just keeping things in our boxes and, maybe it'll come in. But actually things go out of fashion, our taste change in exactly the same way as it does with everything else.
Yeah.
So Christmas decorations absolutely can be decluttered, and if they can be useful to someone else, charity shop them.
Yeah, I think that's a really point well made. And I actually did this with a client last week. So we went through all our Christmas decorations, and we even tested out, some of the strings with all the lights on them. We tested them, we plugged them in, and we were like looking at it. Okay, so do we need anything replacing before we put the Christmas tree up? And some things that she bought last year, she was kind of, I'm not too happy about it anymore. Actually, it was a wrong purchase. I'm going to let that go this side of Christmas. So it can be sold. So yeah, point well made.
Yeah. Okay. So decorating. So it's a big job. It'll probably take all day.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. You get your family involved in that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I have a bit of a plan always going on. So I buy the tree, and that I must tell you, listeners, that is my Christmas present to myself. I love a real tree. I got this massive 6 or 7 foot Northman fir that I love, and I pick out and with the children. And then my husband is in charge of putting it in the stand and putting it up. He then puts the lights in, and then the kids and I decorate all the baubles. And I have some really lovely Christmas decorations that have been my grandmother's, and are probably from the 1940s. So they're 70, 80 years old, and I'm really, really proud of them, and very, very delicate. So I'm in charge of those, and then the kids can put the other ones on.
It's so nostalgic, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our Christmas decorations. We lived in America about 15 years ago for a couple of years, and they really do have beautiful, beautiful Christmas decorations over there, and Christmas shops and things like that. So we bought quite a lot of things, and when the kids were much smaller, with names on and different things and places that we went. So when we lived in America for that time, every single place that we went, we bought a Christmas decoration there. So it's a really lovely time to go back and remember where we went, and you do that every year. So I absolutely love that job, and the kids do as well. My kids are crazy on tradition, so the suggestion that I go and do a kind of designer tree is like, no, we are not doing that. We are having the same Christmas tree that we've had for the last 20 years. Like, okay, that's what we'll do then.
I know I've got a little stable that I put out, and it's just because it used to be my parents' house. And I just love it. And the kids love putting the little figurines, like, the Mary and the Joseph and all the sheep out. And they're like fight over who's allowed to put the little figures in. And it's lovely. Yeah.
I think we're getting waylaid with our Christmas nostalgia. Maybe we need to talk about decluttering and organising.
I know. Just decluttering. Oh, yes, decluttering and organising. But listeners, this is what it's all about, It's great. Yeah, we love decorating. And I agree with you. It does take nearly maybe even a Saturday to kind of get it all down, get the area ready. And then, that takes half a day. And then another good half a day on the Sunday, probably to do the decorating and tidy away all the boxes and clean up and get the glitter off the floor. So
I know exactly.
Yeah, this is not an hour job unless you've got a tiny little tree.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay. Right. So, what else do we need to think about before the big day?
Well, I think we need to think about wrapping, don't we? Mm-hmm. So I think it's fair to say, for Christmas, most people have got different schedules. You've got those people who start in September, you've got people who like to gradually do it all the way through the 3 months, and you've got people who are last minute, and it's up to everybody individually to manage it in their own way. But, wrapping gifts for me is something that I do try and do gradually as I get things. But I have to remind myself to keep a list. So what I do is every time I wrap something, I write it on a list. I've got 3 kids, because it's got to be equitable. Like Christmas morning, I can see, looking around and who's got more than what. So, I write down exactly, right, this is what I've got for them. Because otherwise you can lose track, to me. So this is what I've got for them, this is how much it costs, to make sure that, more or less, I've got this, it evens out for the kids. Because sometimes you just wrap things and don't make a note of what you've done, you forget. And then all of a sudden on Christmas morning, it does seem inequitable somehow. And that's not that should be a big deal. But it makes me feel better if it is that way. So so I will wrap as I go, really, just so that because again, wrapping can be another huge mammoth task, particularly if you've got a lot of kids or a lot of presents that you buy or your family. And it depends very much how. I mean, I'm not a great wrapper, I've got to be honest. I'm a little bit like, put it on, sellotape it on, stick a tag on. I'm not one of these beautiful. I wish I was. But I'm just not.
I know.
Sadly. That'll be for another day.
Yeah.
So wrapping gifts is something, because then you've got to put them. If you've got little kids, you've got to hide them somewhere, find space in your cupboards to put them away. Things like that. So again, another big job.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to do that on Christmas Eve. You really want to, especially if you have a lot to wrap. Then you need to schedule maybe an evening when everybody's gone off to bed, and if you want to do it a bit secretive, if nobody your kids are older now, but mine, I still want to kind of do it when they're in asleep and not there.
I would never wrap kids in front of my I would never wrap kids. That'd be nice as well. Wrap presents in front of the kids. I absolutely will do it when they're not there. So again, what we're talking about a lot here is time and scheduling time and thinking about, like we talked about putting the decorations up, you've got to think about the cleanup as well. With wrapping, you've got to think about an appropriate time when everyone's going to be out, so that you can do that, or you've got to sort of split it up, or you've got to lock a door behind you, or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
But these things take planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that you mentioned kind of last minute shopping, which I agree with you. Some people plan very well in advance and start back in the summer or in September already. But if you're going to do any last minute shopping, don't get carried away in this whole frantic last minute. I have only got an hour left and I'm just going to buy random things and I'll kind of see what happens. Make sure you don't get carried away with your shopping if you're doing it quite last minute, because you can really overdo it.
You absolutely can, because you can get caught up in the moment. All of these shops are there to try and entice us into buying things last minute at the checkout and so on. And so one thing that you'll hear me talking a lot about is, I love this term, is precision shopping. And so I like to shop to a list. And so I like to really think about whether it's Christmas shopping or any other shopping, clothes shopping, blah, blah, blah. I really like to plan what I'm going to go and not really try and deviate from that list, because that's when you can get sort of waylaid and overbuy.
Yeah.
And that's not what this is all about, really. We're trying to avoid that.
Yeah. Good point. What else do we need to talk about?
I think we need to talk about the food and planning sort of food and drink preparation, really, because that's this last couple of weeks before Christmas is certainly when I start to think about that. And so you need to, and it's all about certainly buying drink and buying food. There's special offers on, so a lot of the kind of Christmas drink and things like that, there's loads of special offers on, 25% if you buy 6 bottles. And so really try and think about that and plan when you're going to sort of save some money as well. Food wise, plan at this time who's going to bring what. So now's the time to say, right, okay, so you're coming to my house for Christmas dinner. Can you bring the cheese board? Can you make a soup? Can you blah blah, whatever that might be.
And also I think what just came into my head, I thought a lot of people have dietary requirements these days. So, be a good host and double check with your guests if there are any people who are gluten-free or vegetarians or can't have certain things or can't have nuts or need to be really careful about dairy or anything like that. I think it's really important that you now check with your guests, or if you're going to go somewhere for Christmas Day, that you double check if what you're bringing is actually suitable, because some people really have allergic reactions. You have to be really careful. So I think that's also kind of a last minute thing connected to food that I suddenly realized.
Yeah, I know. It's it comes into play more and more. I mean, 2 of my kids are vegetarian now, so we're going to have a couple of vegetarians. But I mean, I've already asked them. I've said, what do you want instead of turkey? And they're saying they'll just have the veg. So that's fine and easy, and they're happy with that because they still want that sort of traditional Christmas dinner. Yeah. So I'm like, do you know what, a nut roast? Maybe. I'm like, nope. so that's fine. But actually, also for Christmas dinner this year, again, it's about overbuying. So last year, I think you feel compelled to buy. I mean, I have like 16 or 17 people on Christmas Day. And so I like to give people choices in desserts. And so last year, I think I went to Marks and Spencer's and bought 3 of those fancy desserts. And they just sit there because we've already had, nibbles before, and then we've had soup, then we've had the Christmas dinner. Everyone's completely full. And so no one ate them, and they just go to waste. And so I think I'm going to be really radical this year and really pare down on that dessert. Yeah. It might be a cheese board that people can nibble at later. Yeah. But that excess, I know we all go to excess and eat excessively and drink excessively on Christmas Day. But maybe we need to save a little bit of money and save ourselves that much. So that's what I'm going to do this year. So if my family are listening, don't expect any kind of pudding on Christmas Day, because I'm being mean this year. So,
all right, cool. So no pudding in Lesley's house.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure at the last minute I'll be like, I better get something. But that's just me today. So,
right, okay, cool. Setting the table for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I think
that talking about a job in itself as well, especially, I mean, you've got 16 people, Yeah. So that's not something you want to do on Christmas morning, really. So when do you normally set your table?
Well, I'm sort of a big, over the years, since my kids were little, I very much like to really enjoy the day. And so I think this is all about this pre-planning. So, there's no point in us saying, oh, you've got to wrap your gifts and you've got to do this. It's more, what we're trying to get across today is it's more about thinking about the time that you've got available over the next couple of weeks. Because, we've got other things in our diaries, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've got, Christmas dues. We've got things for the kids and so on.
Yeah. And
so
work,
on.
Work.
Work, of course.
And cleaning house and doing laundry. And
I forgot about that whole work thing, yeah. So there's a lot of pulls on our time at this time of year, and so we've really got to sort of think carefully about when we're going to do things. So for me, I will do that Christmas table, because of course my table is not for 16 people. No. So I also have to gather tables from around the house. And so for me, it's at desks from the kids' room, and then you've got to think about tablecloths. And what dawned on me this year was I very much have forgotten. I think I probably changed my colour scheme last year, and I'm like, what did I do last year? Because you buy things, you use it for one day and then you put it away, don't you?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, right, so I need to go now, otherwise I'll end up buying something new, which is not a very good idea in the decluttering world. So I think it's familiarising yourself again with your linens, with your, making sure your tablecloths are clean and are ironed, because they get ironed then put away and then they've got a bit of creasing on them.
Yeah.
And so it's things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of table setting for me happens on Christmas Eve morning. And then as soon as 4:00 or something comes on Christmas Eve, then that's my time to enjoy myself. And then I don't really do that much until I have to start cooking Christmas dinner the following day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really important that you're not doing everything last minute. You don't want to be on Christmas Eve. You want to be spending the time with the kids or with your family or going out or whatever it is that you do. You don't want to be spending all your time frantically wrapping gifts or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it's right. I mean, we normally set the table Christmas Eve for the Christmas Day breakfast. I mean, I'm from Holland and we do it a little bit different. So we don't do the Christmas dinner I think normally you do it at 2:00 or something on Christmas Day. We don't really do it. We do it a bit different, which is fine. But so we always try and set the table for Christmas Day breakfast the evening before. So you don't have to, when you wake up in the morning, it's all kind of nice. And we've got the nice Christmas napkins and everything. And the little candles and all the lovely breads that we've bought for Christmas Day breakfast, and then we go and visit my dad for Christmas. So
I think it's always lovely to hear different people. You say people do Christmas dinner at 2:00. I'm not sure about. I think it's different in every house, really. We probably won't do Christmas dinner till about 6.
Okay.
Because we go around to my father-in-law's in the morning, and so we spend a bit of family time there.
Yeah.
So I think it very much depends on your own Christmas traditions, and I always love how people do it differently, whether it's Christmas pajamas or all different things that people do. It's so lovely, and everyone's got their own traditions that they like to stick to. Really.
And there's putting out I think milk and cookies for the reindeer, or after stockings, or they go to church, or it's so lovely. I love talking to people and hearing what they're doing for Christmas as well.
Talking about food and drink, one thing that's really important in terms of your schedule is if you order a turkey or some kind of Christmas meat, is, when you go to the butcher's, it's kind of like an hour's queue, isn't it, on Christmas Eve or the day before to pick it up. So that's got to be scheduled into your time as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's not so bad if you buy one from the supermarket, but if you get it from a sort of local butcher's, it's queued out the door, 30 or 40 deep, and you get a time slot. And it's all very, very... So, you've got to plan that into your day as well.
Yeah, true. Have we got everything?
Do you know we've not talked about Christmas flowers? Do you? I know in the last podcast you were like, "Well, it's Christmas flowers." Have I convinced you? Have I convinced you to get Christmas flowers?
Well, of course, because I travel to Holland, I can't bring Christmas flowers and ponchettas.
You don't bring flowers to Holland.
No,
do
I don't
you?
bring no. You definitely all the flowers come from Holland, so you don't want to bring flowers to Holland. But I do love a nicely decorated table. I do like to see a little bit of a Christmas piece on the table. And of course, you've got this pancetta or pancetta. I can't even pronounce that, but I call it the pancetta, like this Christmas flower.
Is it I think it might be, I would say poinsettia.
Poinsettia?
I don't know whether that's right or not.
Listeners, in the show notes, we will actually put the exact name of this lovely red Christmas
I know what the
flower.
name is and I know how to spell it. I just don't know how to say it. So, yeah, you're going to call it a pancetta. I'm calling it pancetta. I don't know, whatever. But we all know what we mean. So, it's lovely to have that nice sort of flash of red, isn't it, at Christmas?
I do.
So that needs to be thought about as well.
Yeah.
I think it's really, we were talking at the beginning about having lovely times and enjoying the sort of special times.
Yeah.
Don't make delivering Christmas presents to family and friends become a chore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to be something that you can invest a little bit of time in, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about giving, at the end of the day, giving gifts is quite special, isn't it? And so make sure you allocate plenty of time to deliver those presents and enjoy the time with family.
Yeah. I know, you don't want to have that rushed in between visiting 3 other people. You're better off looking at your plan over Christmas and say, I'm going to visit that person, and actually make time to come in and maybe sit down and, share the presents and have a chat and have a little bit of a catch up, because that's what it's all about in the end, Christmas, isn't it?
Definitely.
Spending time with your family and your friends and what you want to do. So, yeah.
That's it. We're all ready. So we've just got to do all of those things that we spoke about in the last couple of weeks.
I have done a few of those things, but not everything yet. So
exactly.
Thank you for the reminder, Lesley.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can have our mulled wine, can we?
Yes, we can have mulled wine now.
Oh.
So we want to wish all our listeners a very, very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, a lovely holiday season. And that's it for this episode, listeners. And we hope you've all enjoyed listening and you are inspired to take action. And we hope you've learned a lot today as well, and that all our tips and our last minute preparation will be helpful for you and you can implement them in your own home. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. And if you'd like to get more tips and advice, please follow us on social media. And if you don't want to miss the next episode, subscribe to the Declutter Hub podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration, and don't forget to tune in next week.